Well, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Well, today we're going to get started on part 6 of the Grimsly Manor step-by-step tutorial. And today I've changed it up a little bit. We're working outside. It's a hot day here in Phoenix. It's 98 degrees right now outside, so we're sort of in the shade. And what we're going to be doing today is mixing some grout to put into our brickwork. So we're going to actually grout this, and then if we have enough time after the grout, which should go fairly quick, I think, then we'll jump into putting the road down on the base itself and trim that to fit and see how that looks with everything set up. So with that, welcome back. Let's jump in and let me show you the equipment and the tools that you're going to need. Okay, well, first things first, we're obviously going to be doing some grouting. And so this is left over from a grouting project during a part of our home remodel. This is called pewter. It's a gray color. I think it's going to work out rather well. It's a kind of a mix. You can kind of see down in there, and you'll see it when I start mixing it up. It's a powder. We're going to mix that with some water until it's in a pretty thick and creamy sort of texture, and so it goes down into the cracks and crevices a little bit easier that way. We're also going to need something to mix it in, and what I typically use are these paint bucket sleeves that you can get at the hardware store. I've got a couple of them here and kind of double them up for some thickness and some added density to it. Then we're going to take a normal paint stirrer and we're going to stir the grout that way. And so then once the grout is on, we're going to need a couple of sponges. So we've got a couple of sponges to dip in clear water and to kind of get some of that stuff off and continuously do that until it's as clean and good looking as we want. And then a smaller scrub mommy brush that we can use to kind of get into some smaller areas, just really on the sponge side. And as we apply the grout, we're going to use a knockdown knife to kind of get some of that excess off without trying to get it all over our hands. This is going to make a mess. That's why we are doing it outside. And then we've got some rubber gloves that we'll be using to kind of put that on to try to keep our hands clean. And then a big bucket that we can use for clean water to kind of get the sponge soaked and kind of rinse out. And you'll see all of this as we go forward. And then I've got a solo cup that I'm going to use to dip some of the water out of this bucket into our grout mixture so we can get that mixed up. Okay, so with all of that, I'm going to get some water in this big bucket. I'm going to get everything ready. I'm going to reposition the camera and we're going to go ahead and start. Okay, I've got my water set up here. We've got our bucket, and so basically what I'm going to do first is just pour some of this grout into this bucket. Now it is a little windy out, so we're going to put about, I don't know, maybe about that much to start with. Something like that. We may have to use more, but that's about what we've got in there, and you can kind of see from the side right about like that. It's hard to see through, I know. And then we're going to start with just a little bit of water at first, not much. And we're going to pour that in and start to mix this up. It doesn't take a lot of water, and we can adjust as necessary. Okay, so that's kind of the texture and the thickness that we're looking for. That's perfect. Finish this up, get our gloves on, and we'll start the process. We're gonna get started on this side. We're just gonna grab some just in our hand like this. All right, we're just gonna take a scoopful and just start working it into the project. Okay, we only want a damp sponge, not a completely wet sponge. And we're just gonna come and start wiping some of this off. Okay, so that's been wiped down quite a bit and it's been sitting in the sun. It's not completely dry and you can see some small little gaps of things that I need to go back and fix. But we're just gonna go ahead and move on and get the other part. I think I'm just gonna use my hands on these smaller pieces. It's not that bad, and I've done it that way before. So sometimes you can just kind of work it down into the crevices even a little bit better by doing that. All right, so while things are drying, I wanted to be able to show you guys how big this little girl's getting. This is Echo. You saw her the last time. She's getting real big. Echo, sit, sit. She doesn't listen quite as often as she probably should. She is learning though, quite a bit. She is bigger. I bet she's probably close to 30 pounds now. She was 12 when we got her. Hey, stop eating that. That is not something to eat. She eats everything. She just ate a little bit of grout. I'm sure it'll be fine. But anyway, you can see how big she is next to Libby. She's getting quite big, which is awesome. So hey, we've got everything out drying right now. So we're gonna start cleaning some of this mess up and we'll do a final wipe down and I'll show you that. Okay, so you can kind of see the final base here that is not completely dry, but it's getting close. I apologize for the kind of the shadowy trees there, but you kind of see the intent. Now we're going to have to probably cover most of this with a black wash to kind of weather it up a little bit more. And then since we're using a water-based acrylic paint, the craft paint, you can see how some of the paint starts to come off, especially with the water in the grout and the water in the sponge. And so that's why you want to use as dry of a sponge as you can. So we may have to touch some of this up after we do the wash. Don't know for sure, so we'll just have to see how it looks after the wash is on. You can see the top is sort of kind of a milky, color on it. That's okay. That's all going to be covered up with grass or with buildings. So I'm not really worried about that. All this will be covered all the way up into the walkway. We'll probably end up washing the walkway anyway. And so more to follow on that. But what I want to do now is sort of clean up my work area, kind of put this down, and let's start measuring to cut the road. And we'll go from there. Okay, so we've got some other pieces ready. And so you kind of see it sitting on there for now, and we're going to worry about now the road. And this is what I use for the road. This is a brand new roll. I get this off of Amazon. It's 80 grit anti-skid tape, and it works really well. It looks like it's not straight at the end, so we've got a fix for that. And the way we do that is through this cutter right here. Now, all I'm going to do is kind of set this back a little bit more so you can see, and we're just going to kind of cut the edge of this off just to where it's a little more straight. I just want to hold this here, get that up against there where it's perfectly straight, and then that, and then that will cut it off to where it's a little more straight. Okay, so now what we're going to do is simply measure. Now the bad part, or it doesn't really matter, we're going to have to put 2 rows of this tape over here. This row is going to go right up to the sidewalk, which is fine. And then the other row is going to be what it is. So we can really, honestly, at this point, we know we're going to need 2 rows going this way. Okay, so at this point, I can take now everything off. Doesn't really make much of a difference now. I'm just going to kind of slide and hopefully keep everything somewhat intact. Clean this up just a little bit. Okay, so the way I typically do this is we'll put this down about here, just about like that. We need a little bit of room for our sidewalk or our curb, so something about like that looks great. And then we'll just mark where we want it to cut, which is right there. And if I need to take a little bit more, I certainly can, and we can cut it off with an X-Acto knife at the end of the process. So, having said that, let's pull this up and this out. Got my mark right there. Right about like that is where we're going to cut. Okay. And now we'll measure just to make sure. That looks about right. We'll have to cut just a little bit off with the X-Acto, and that's fine. Okay, so once we unstick this, this is really sticky, as you guys have seen before. So it'll go, once you put it down, it's kind of stuck that way. So now we're going to put this down with a little bit of leeway here. Just a bit. Right about like that. Right about like that. Just about like that. Okay. So that is where that road is going to go. Now we do have our X-Acto knife, and the way we can trim this is simply coming underneath. You can see here. Now we're going to have to paint some of this at the end anyway for a touch-up, so I'm not really worried too much about the paint. Okay, something like that. And then again, all this will be touched up at the very beginning. You can see there, we're gonna have some little touch-ups there, and that's perfectly okay. But that is the first piece of road down. Now, we've got to get our second piece down. And I'm really not digging this. This is, it's got a lot of white showing on this, and I'm not too keen on that, but it is what it is. We will have some seam, not a big one, but enough. And this is going to butt right up against that. So kind of like this. And then again, this marker, actually we'll just cut it here. At least a little bit of a cut so we know where we're going. Line that up perfectly there. That looks good. And then just a little bit of a cut here. We're going to have to recut this, so I'm not too awful worried about it. Okay. This is the worst tape that I've bought so far, with just all this white on it, and it doesn't really want to come off. So we're gonna have to do some creativeness with some markers or black paint or something to kind of get that line to go away. Not real happy with that, but it is what it is at this point. Okay, not too crazy about that, but I do know how we're going to fix it. So let me pause and I'll be right back. Okay, not happy with this. It's just the luck of the draw. I mean, it's got all this white and it doesn't want to come off. Just kind of gets all over the place like that. If you're using it on stairways or what have you, you don't really care, but since I'm trying to do a project with it, I do care. So we're gonna try to fix it. Told you we needed to touch some stuff up anyway, so we're gonna repaint the road just like this. Okay, we're back and it's been sitting out in the sun for a while. It's dry. I don't know if you can see how actually good that looks, but I mean, the seam is there, but I mean, it's running right through there. It's kind of hard to see it, which is exactly what you wanted it to be. Obviously, there's the other seam. So it looks good. And that wasn't planned, right? I mean, I have used this tape for a very long time and have never really had any issues with it, not much anyway. And so just to kind of show you that, you know, it's black and we've got flat black spray paint, so there's a way to fix just about anything. And so you have to sort of improvise, adapt, and overcome with some of the problems that you may find yourself running into. Okay, so what do we got? Got playground sand. You can get this at a hardware store or a local playground or what have you. It's been dried out, it's dry. And so we're just gonna put some of this down quite a bit and just kind of dirty this road up. Okay, that's it. Started to be cleaned up. You can kind of see hopefully how that looks. Trying to get it focused in there. So that is how the road is starting to look. You can sort of see the line right there in the sun, but only if I really point it out to you can you see it. Everything else looks really good coming around this way. There's actually two seams over here. There's one here and one here, but again, they'll be very nobody will ever notice them in the grand scheme of things. And so this is how this is starting to take shape. Still needs quite a bit of work, honestly. That grout is it is gray. I'm gonna let it continue to dry, but that's probably the color that it's going to remain, which is fine. I think the bricks look okay, or the stone looks okay. It's a little bit windy. You saw that kind of fall off of there, but I'm not gonna glue any of this stuff down right now because I do want to wash the base again. We'll do that in the next video. Actually, I'll probably do that offline. I know we said we're doing step by step, but you have seen me do the wash initially. So I'll do the wash and then let it dry. I just don't want to do it now until it's completely dry, but this is how it's starting to shape up and take place. It's not looking too bad. I'm pleased. I think once the grass and the wash is on there, then we will be good. I think what we're going to do next is do the wash. That'll be done the next time you see it, and then we're going to start painting some of this area here for grass, either a brown or a green or maybe a combination thereof, all along this area here, and get that ready. It'll be washed, and I think what we'll do next is start gluing everything down and get ready to go from there. But I think we're moving along. We're moving in the right direction. I think with the buildings on, it's going to look really, really sharp. So we'll take a look at that on the next one. Hopefully that helps you to understand how to put the grout on the base or the foundation. Not as hard as you may have thought it was, or maybe it's more difficult than you thought. I don't know. The cool part is you can grab any of that grout at your local hardware store. It's just a powder. You mix it with water. The key is getting it in the right consistency, almost like a thick oatmeal. If it's too thin, it's too watery, and it's going to help scrape off some of that paint, and it's going to take forever to dry, and it's just not going to look right. If it's too thick, then it's going to be hard to work with, and it's just going to make a big mess. So the key is consistency with the batter, so to speak, and putting that on there. And so what we're going to do next with this is we're going to get it ready to be glued down, start painting it a little bit. The wash will be done. You've seen me do that already. It's very simple, just a little bit of black paint, a little bit of water, and then wash it down and just let it sit and dry in the sun. It's pretty basic. And then so we'll see what it looks like with the wash on, get the paint on the top with some greens and browns and get it ready for the grass. And then we're going to start gluing everything down. That'll be the next video, part 7. A few more parts to go in this video, and what I did realize is that I'm starting to feel the pressure of being behind for this season already. I've still got the whole entire manor road to build. That's going to be a doozy. That's going to be hopefully very detailed and just a lot of work. And then the whole fall harvest display that we're going to do this year as well. That's a lot of building to do. So I've got to get started and motivated and start to get creating that stuff. I did stop by Millie's Hallmark this weekend to pick up a couple of items, and I asked about the pre-orders for 2024. What I was told is that they should be in sometime towards the middle to the end of May. As soon as they come in, rest assured, I'll go get them, and I'll review every single piece that I personally purchased on the YouTube channel, so you can make a better decision, a more informed decision on whether you want to pick up this piece or not, if you haven't already pre-ordered it. So back to this video. If you've liked this video, make sure you click that like button. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. It helps me out personally, helps the channel to grow. And if you know like-minded people who share the same passion for this hobby as you and I do, then share the video with them. Help them to experience what you and I get to experience on at least a monthly basis right now. That has to pick up if I want to get done before the Halloween season. We typically start decorating in the August time frame, and this is almost May. So June, July, and August, we've really got about 2.5 months, which means I've got to get my rear in gear to get all this stuff knocked out. So hey, we're going to knock this one off for today. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. We're going to talk to you again real soon. Until then, take care of yourselves.